Nowadays, people are no stranger to the concept of censorship, be it via government, private institutions, or people self-censoring themselves. In today's video, we'll be going over censorship in the Dragon Ball series. So before we get into the weird and wonderful ways Dragon Ball was censored, let's get our definitions crystal clear for everyone. Censorship is the suppression or control of speech, public communications, and information by authorities or private groups, often because it is deemed objectionable, harmful, or politically inconvenient. It involves restricting access to books, films, internet content, and art, frequently justified by national security, moral standards, or social order. The type of censorship that is relevant to this video is the post-alteration from initial release. So in the UK, if I release a comic book with the main character as a robot, then after a while I want to release my comic book in another country, and that country doesn't allow robot characters. So I changed that robot to a frog in the international version. This is censorship, a whimsical version, mind you. Generally speaking, most censorship isn't done in a malicious, deceptive, or propagandizing way. It's usually done to differences in culture and sensibilities. So if something is completely fine in one culture, may be extremely inappropriate in another, which is understandable. People's main criticism of censorship is that they want full access to the source material, with the choice of self-censoring themselves after. If the media has been altered from the top down, then it's already been decided for everyone. There's a lot of reasons why people feel this way. One good reason is that the media they are wanting to view may be unfairly censored. And if that is the case, the consumer doesn't have the option to view the original source material and has to make do with the altered version. Legally speaking, by the way. But anyways, I think you get the concept now. Let's look at some examples in Dragon Ball. In this image on the left is a pair of underwear, which is the original, and on the right it was changed to a stack of dollar bills. The concept of this scene was that Bulma used her underwear as a bait so they could catch Oolong, who was transformed as a fish. You know, if you've never seen Dragon Ball before, that probably sounded really crazy, but yeah. Now, early Dragon Ball is no stranger to sus scenes, which if you've seen the show before, you're already aware of. I will not be going over every single instance of censorship, as that would make the video way too long for me to make, and a lot of them are very similar types of censoring, so mentioning them all would be really repetitive. So we'll go over some of the more interesting ones, and one to give you a full range with a better understanding on the type of censors. In episode 7 of original Dragon Ball, the episode titled The Ox King on Fire Mountain, when Chi-Chi was getting chased by a dinosaur, she decapitates its head. In some releases, it was changed to show its shadow instead. In the 11th episode, called The Penalty is Pinball, Bulma flips off Emperor Pilaf when she is captured. In some releases, this scene is removed, but in the Funimation dub, it remained. And Bulma says, "My magic finger says it's in the ceiling," which is honestly a pretty humorous line to excuse the scene. In the 13th episode, called The Legend of Goku, after Goku returns to his base form after his first Great Ape transformation, in some releases, him being passed out naked on the floor is censored with a flower. In the 26th episode, called The Grand Finals, Master Roshi showcases his drunken fist attack. In the Toonami broadcast, it was retitled The Mad Cow Technique. Even though alcohol wasn't involved with this technique, the reference to being intoxicated must have been enough for censorship. I think it's a bit hyperbolic to censor the term drunk or drunken, but what do I know? In the 71st episode, called Deadly Battle, now, I have to be careful in the wording here. Krillin does something hint hint, which shocks Master Roshi so much that he has a nosebleed. This was all to aid Yamcha in his fight with Invisible Man, because now he is covered in blood and isn't invisible anymore. In one release of the episode, this was changed to Master Roshi giving Krillin a tomato soup can, which is used footage from a previous episode. Now, the soup is what reveals the Invisible Man instead of the blood. In the 103rd episode, called Tambourine Attacks, Tambourine tells King Chopper that he's come to kill him. In the Toonami broadcast, this was changed to end him. Not the most interesting point to mention, just to give you an idea of the variety of censors being used. In the very next episode titled Mark of the Demon, the clip of Man Wolf's corpse floating along a river with a blood trail was cut from the Toonami broadcast. Let's move on to some Dragon Ball Z censors now. In episode 1, The New Threat, Farmer with shotgun fires a bullet at Raditz, Raditz catches the bullet, then returns it at high speed back to the farmer. In one version of the show, they add a voice line of him saying, "That's smarts," giving the impression that it didn't kill him. In the next episode, called Reunions, in one release of the show, they change the colour of Master Roshi's beverage. In the original, it looks like beer, and they change it to a blue colour, symbolising water or a soft drink. If you watch Dragon Ball Z Abridged, they made a joke about this censor. In the episode after that, called Unlikely Alliance, one odd censor they did was changing crying Gohan to have no tears. I guess a crying child is too much for TV? I really have no idea why this was changed. Another weird change that happened in the episode Day 1, they censored out Gohan imagining an apple tree because, well, actually I don't know. This one has me stumped. Now, if you're thinking censorship was really common in the past, here are some modern Dragon Ball censors. So do you remember that scene I told you about with Master Roshi and his drink? In Dragon Ball Z Kai, they change it again to be milk. It's also important I point out that the censors are not all done by the same people, be it different production companies or TV networks. They also changed Raditz's dialogue from calling Goku stupid to brainless. I can understand censoring out blood, excessive violence, telling people to die, but this is a clear example of excessive censorship just for the sake of it. And I know that Dragon Ball was aired on a children's TV network, but some of these alterations are just silly. They also censor Mr. Popo to now be in blue. And look, I'm not even going to go there, so let's just move on. In Dragon Ball Super, this being the UK broadcast version on the channel UK Pop, they cut out the scene with Trunks punching a giant snake. Not sure if this was due to a kid being violent and not wanting a kid watching it to get influenced, but at the same time, the show is about fighting, and if what happens in the show is too extreme for that specific network, then why is it even being broadcasted there? Just put it on a provider that doesn't have to censor it that much. Now, it's not just the Dragon Ball animes that get censored between versions. Even the Japanese manga to the Japanese anime adaptation was censored, such as Tien's arm dripping with blood was changed to a less gruesome depiction. Also in the manga, during the Frieza and Goku fight on Namek, when Frieza got hurt by his own attack, he has his insides hanging out. In the anime, the depiction of the wound was less extreme. Even different manga releases received censors. In the original full color version and perfect edition, Bulma calls General Blue a homophobic insult. In the Viz release, they changed this to Bulma saying, "Fooey, must be gay." There is even censorship in the Dragon Ball Z Kakarot video game. Not for game releases, but from the video game adapting scenes from the anime. So with the Raditz and Farmer with Shotgun encounter, instead of him getting sent flying into his car, the farmer is just knocked out after Raditz returns the bullet to him. When Gohan reverts back to his human form after the Great Ape transformation, he isn't completely naked and has trousers this time. The clip where Vegeta brutally finishes off a KO'd Raccoon and Berta were not included. Now, some of these changes could just be down to cut production costs, but you could also argue, with some of the scenes, it was probably just for generic censorship, so they could release the game internationally with little as friction as possible. But what I hope has a little friction was you watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider checking out some of my other Dragon Ball videos. I hope you have a great day, and as always, until next time.